Have you ever wondered, what if Skyrim and Elden Ring had a baby? I think it'd be something like Dragon's Dogma 2. But, to be fair, Dragon's Dogma 2 is its own special game in its own special way, so maybe more like an adopted child. Anyways, with 100 hours of gameplay and almost 2 full playthroughs, I'm gonna give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and answer the ultimate question: should you buy Dragon's Dogma 2? What is up guys, Crazy Rick here, and I know, you're probably asking yourself, what is Dragon's Dogma 2? Well, on the surface it's an open world action RPG game set in the medieval times, but it's much deeper than that. In Dragon's Dogma 2, you set out on an adventure with a custom character and you choose a vocation, which is basically a class in any other RPG. During your travels, you'll be accompanied by a companion or a few companions. These companions in the game are called pawns, and they are fully customizable NPCs with access to some of the vocation. They assist in combat and missions, and you can have a party consisting of 3 of them. One being your main pawn, and the other 2 being pawns created by other online players. With that being said, this is not an online game, nor can you see other online players. It is a single player game and it is heavily story driven. If you played the original, Dragon's Dogma, or Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen with the DLC, then you're probably already familiar with the lore. Dragon's Dogma 2 isn't a prequel or a sequel, it's just a twist on the original lore. A dragon steals your heart, you become the Arisen, command pawns, and get stronger to ultimately face the dragon again. I know that's a super simplification, but I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. Plus, this video isn't about the lore, so let's get into the pros and cons. The pros. Dragon's Dogma 2 has some of the coolest features that actually make it stand out from other RPG games. One of the biggest and most unique features is actually the pawns. When thinking about games like Elden Ring or Skyrim, while companions can be a part of your gameplay, they're definitely not the main focus. However, in Dragon's Dogma 2, pawns are not only a huge part of the story, but they're heavily involved in everything you do in the game. From quest info to quest location, and even quest reminders, pawns are with you every step of the way. And that's not even mentioning the fact that they can pick up items, combine items, heal you with items, and even learn a language to help you communicate. But I'm sure you had enough of me talking about pawns, so let's get into some of the other features. Another huge feature that took the world by storm is the character customization. Dragon's Dogma 2 has one of the best character customizations I've ever seen in an RPG. Like, seriously. You can make your character look just like you, or your favorite celebrity, or any meme character you can think of. There's tons of possibilities with customization for your character or your main pawn. Another thing to note is the skills. The skills that you unlock in Dragon's Dogma 2, depending on your vocation, have a ton of variety and different effects on the enemy. Depending on the enemy type, one skill may work better than the other. Which brings me into my next pro, the enemies and the combat. The enemies in Dragon's Dogma 2 all have their own special weaknesses and combat styles, making each battle different. Some enemies are smart and will maneuver a certain way to block their weak points, while others will wear protection. Another thing I like about Dragon's Dogma 2 is the quest variety. There are a ton of side quests, main quests, and hidden quests in Dragon's Dogma 2. And it's up to you to decide which quests you'd like to take on. In Dragon's Dogma 2, you have to be cautious as some quests are time-based and taking too long to complete them can result in negative consequences. I'm sure we all could appreciate a great map in an RPG, and a map in Dragon's Dogma 2 is not only large, but it's packed with a ton of different features. There's a bunch of different areas ranging from towns and villages, to caves, plains and forests, and even mountains. When traveling to a quest, there are multiple ways to get there on the map, so it leaves the game feeling less linear and more open world. Enemy spawn points may change, so you might run into different enemies on the same path, leaving the game feeling more realistic. Don't even get me started on the loot and items. The map is packed with loot and items spread all across it. And there are a ton of opportunities to pick up side quests along your journeys, kinda like in Red Dead Redemption 2. Lastly, I want to talk about the graphics and views. The graphics and views in Dragon's Dogma 2 are nothing short of amazing. There's a day and night cycle, so you get to watch the lighting and environment shift from day to night, which adds a certain level of realism. The NPCs and enemies are always roaming the world, so you may see a wandering pawn or even a lonely flying griffin. Also in the settings, there's a bunch of things you can edit with the graphics, but with the great graphics comes some performance issues. And that leads me straight into the cons of Dragon's Dogma 2. The cons. Continuing where I left off, one of the biggest issues with Dragon's Dogma 2 is the performance. Even for us PC players, the performance is at its worst in towns, and while this is something that can be fixed in the future, it's definitely something to take note of. Saving the game is also not favored, as the game only rewards you one save slot, and the only way to hard save the game is to sleep, which progresses the time and sometimes even the quest. I also wasn't a fan of the stamina bar, as when you're outside of combat, your stamina bar can run out, leaving you in uncomfortable running cycles of running and stopping, which could sometimes get annoying. Also, fast travel. While there is fast travel in Dragon's Dogma 2, there are no horses or mounts for you to easily traverse the map. And also, the port crystal, which is a teleport station, is very rare in the game, and the fairy stones, which is used for teleporting to these port crystals, are kind of expensive. There are also ox carts for fast travel, but those are in certain areas and certain times of the day. Plus, those also have a chance of being attacked during night, which if you're attacked in an ox cart, you have to walk the rest of the way, making it a bit inconvenient for travel. Another problem I had with Dragon's Dogma 2 was the quest details and hints. Sometimes quests can be so vague that I found myself going online to look for guides just to help me finish a quest. Maybe it's just me. One huge con I have with the game is the difficulty. While in the beginning of the game the difficulty is fairly competitive, as you get stronger and unlock more skills, enemies and quests become a lot easier, and even bosses. That is also something that could be updated in the future with an added hard mode, but for now the game does seem a bit too easy at times. And lastly, another con for me is the Dragon's Plague, which I made a video on if you want to know more about it. With that being said, I feel like I could go on and nitpick a bunch of cons with the game, but I feel like I covered everything important. So, what's the verdict? Well, overall, I think I would recommend Dragon's Dogma 2, especially if you can look past the cons and flaws that I mentioned in this video. But, if you can't, I'd still recommend Dragon's Dogma 2, just at a later date after some updates and fixes are made. With that being said, I look forward to see where this franchise will go, and the plans set for the future as far as DLCs and updates. Also, if you guys haven't already, please check out my Dragon's Dogma 2 Funny Moments video, or my Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen versus Dragon's Dogma 2 comparison video. Also, let me know what game you'd like me to review next, and if you've played Dragon's Dogma 2, let me know about your experience with it in the comment section below. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Crazy Rick, out.